Welcome to the Fall River Conservation Commission meeting being held at public hearing on Monday the 1st, 2023, 5:30 in the first floor hearing room, One Government Center. This can be through FRG TV and Channel 9. Pursuant to the open meeting laws, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present, are deemed acknowledged and permissible. We'll start with roll call. Chris, we'll start at your end.
Chris Boyle here.
Louis Ferrer.
John Brandt.
Jim Cusick.
Paul Emerald.
And we're missing Reverend Jim Hornsby. We also have tonight Dan Aguirre, Conservation Agent, Nina Pavo, Clerk, and Gary Lett from FRG TV. First on old business is request for certificate of compliance SE-24-739. Owner applicant is CML2 LLC. Project location is 507 Alden Street. Assessor's map is J-21-0001 and 0005. Applicant requesting a certificate of compliance stating that all work regulated by the order of conditions has been satisfactorily complete. This was tabled from April 3rd, 2023 meeting.
So, Commission members, I was able to look at the site again. At this time, I'll recommend the issuance of a certificate of compliance pending an updated as-built plan. I have been in contact with the consulting engineer, and they will be providing one. Remember, the last thing we were waiting for was that retaining wall along Alden Street to be constructed. They really did an incredible job, went way beyond what they had to do. I know Paul went to go take a look at it, and he was finally happy with it. Anything related to Conservation Commission-related items has been taken care of. Some site plan review stuff needs to be resolved, but anything stormwater, drainage, or general construction stuff, it's fine to issue the certificate of compliance.
Does anybody have any questions?
No, I just want to pretty much say what Dan said. I went there, I looked at the wall. They did a really, really good job.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to approve the COC.
Second?
Aye.
Okay, roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Next on the list is request for certificate of compliance SE-24-765. Owner applicant Highland Farms Development 2 LLC. Project location 245 Philstone Lane. Assessor's map is U-04-0059. Applicant requesting a certificate of compliance saying that all work regulated by the order of conditions has been satisfactorily completed. This was tabled from April 3rd, 2023 meeting.
I would recommend that this item be tabled as final loaming and seeding has not been completed. And you'll remember item number 8 later on in this evening's agenda is with regards to the installation of a swimming pool in that same parcel. So I would recommend tabling it till both of them are finally completed. Make a motion, we table till
Second.
next meeting?
Second? Roll
Aye.
call vote.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Next on the list is notice of intent SE-24-814. Owner applicant is Berkeley Street Limited, LLC. Project location is Bell Rock Road. Assessor's map is W-19-0002. Filed by Civil and Environmental Consultants, Inc. On behalf of applicant, the applicant proposes a site stabilization plan consisting of regarding previous disturbed portions of the site, adding loam, topsoil as needed, and hydro seeding. This was tabled from April 3rd, 2023 meeting.
So, Commission members, if you remember, this has been an ongoing project or projects out on Bell Rock Road for the restoration of that ledge removal area. At the last meeting, we had given a lengthy list of comments and required conditions for the applicant to incorporate it onto their plan set and to put together through a narrative that they've submitted as well. I would offer that they have illustrated and shown all that we asked them to do on this plan. If you remember, we were trying to limit the amount of special conditions by actually having them, put all of these items on the plan. So going through it quickly, we asked that they widen the berth of the general drainage swale that directs stormwater down through the driveway culvert, which they did. We asked that they provide a number of plantings along Bell Rock Road in a cluster of evergreens, which they did. We asked that they install a gate at the driveway entrance and upgrade the crushed stone driveway entrance that's there. That's shown on the plan, and it's actually already done in the field. I went there this afternoon to take a look at it, so that part of the work is done, so it is locked off, and the crushed stone is there. There are notes on the plan, you'll see at the very top, about cleaning the adjacent wetlands where silt had been intruded upon, and that'll all have to be removed by hand. So that's on the plan set as well. The required treatments for how the loaming and seeding and slope stabilization for the restoration, they've added notes with regards to that on the plan. Trying to think if there's anything else. They added 2 sediment riprap areas at each end of that existing culvert to try and help clean up stormwater as it runs through there as well. They also have a note, I believe there's a note on the plan about the test pits. If not, it is in a response letter, where they would be doing a dozen different test pits, witnessed by an LSP and myself, thanks, so that we can ensure that the fill material was suitable. So as you see in just a little blurb that I gave you, I think all of those items being handled on the plan, I don't think they need specific special conditions. What you should discuss and probably condition is the time frame by which you want this work to be completed. You know, generally, an order of conditions is valid for 3 years. I would not allow the applicant to go beyond 1 year or actually through the fall without having this work completed. But other than that, I have nothing else to offer.
Okay. How long do you think it is for the work to be completed?
That's an excellent question. I know it's actively ongoing. There are a couple of areas that they did want to stabilize. Essentially, there was an area, Carlos Sculti was Civil and Environmental Consultants representing the applicant today, where there was some steeper excavations where they want to bring in essentially some soil to stabilize that area to eliminate some abrupt vertical faces that they have there. I know the work's ongoing. As Mr. Aguirre mentioned, they're already working on getting the gates, and we'll get the landscaping in certainly this spring. I think they just want to make sure that they do the rest of the work properly.
John Zano, fellas, if you want to.
There you go. So it is ongoing, and we certainly want to be completed with this as soon as we can as well and be able to close out the project. And I'll defer to John. There's a question that came up about the schedule and the anticipated completion. Mr. Aguirre recommended that we get the work done as expeditiously as possible, within the year if that's possible.
Yes, we definitely plan to do that. That's certainly reasonable. That's a timeframe we can meet.
Okay.
Okay.
You have anything else you want to
Yeah,
add?
I got
Yeah.
just a couple. Have there been any renewed communications with Mass Audubon for once this work is completed? What's to become of the property?
We definitely do plan to donate it. That I can represent that. We haven't contacted the Audubon Society. In working with National Natural Heritage, they had a couple other suggestions of folks. So we're sort of going to weigh out our options with regard to whom we're going to donate it.
Sure.
But our plan is
But that is the plan.
definitely yes.
We can't make that a condition.
No, I
but
know.
at least you got your
No,
question
I would
answered.
never do that. But who specifically are you working with?
Tim McGuire.
Tim, okay, it is Tim, okay. Yep. The other question the concern I had at the last meeting was that the water runs off that property to the northwest as it comes off the property. And there was significant evidence of reduction oxidation reactions from in that water that was coming off and flowing into those.
Sure.
Those two, and granted, they're very small wetland areas, but that riprap that was in there, that crushed stone, was failing. It wasn't doing its job. So a lot of that sediment was still getting into those wetlands, and that's one concern I have. We need to correct that.
Sure. So one thing that we did add to the design was not just having the silt fence along the edges, but having compost socks to double up with the silt fences. So we have them in 2 locations. One before they actually cross through the pipe, so the vast majority of the runoff coming through the site will hit the settling basin here where the water will slow down, and it'll go through the silt fence as well as the compost filter socks. And then there's kind of a secondary barrier on the other side, which would provide, a backup to any sort of treatment that wasn't provided here before it ultimately discharges back to those wetlands.
Okay, you're talking about the 2 wetlands on site, not the adjacent wetlands. The 2 wetlands on
Correct,
site.
yeah. And ultimately, everything flows through those to the
Correct.
adjacent ones to the northwest.
So, just so I'm clear, because you had the water flowing off-site, and it would flow into one wetland and a second one, and there was some stone riprap, a small riprap that was in place there. So that's being modified to prevent sedimentation?
We're modifying both of those pads on either side of that culvert crossing that we have there.
When I was there today, I mean, and the water was still meandering pretty strongly
Oh, I'm
through,
sure it
through the
was.
little rivulet that it's created. What I would recommend is, that we get this wide berth done first, because right now it's through a super channelized
Yep.
area. And it was running red. I mean, it was pretty bright colored. But as far as actual sediment, these should be an improvement as well. So I think the order in which some of this work gets done would be very important. But there's still quite a bit of fill material to bring in on that back slope. It is just sheer face right now.
So I'm presuming they'll still continue to dump the fines from the rock processing operation, right? Is that correct?
That's our intention,
Yep.
yes.
And what other types of fill will be brought into the site? Just the fines, or?
Apart from loom, once we're done, I think that would be it, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? All righty. So can I have a motion to issue an order of conditions with our special conditions and the timeline we decide was a year?
And these conditions, excuse me, I'm sorry, John, these conditions include soil testing, correct?
Correct.
Yes, yeah, that's on the plan.
Just, okay,
Yep.
perfect.
We did have I don't know if Carlos presented it or not. We did have, we were probably gonna use green seal for the soil testing, if that's okay.
Yeah, we're fine with that.
Yeah, we'd
I
use
wouldn't
them.
trust CEC, so that would be fine.
What's that?
I'm only kidding.
Being recorded, right? That's okay.
That would be fine.
No, we've had a long-term relationship with them as well, and we,
Okay, good.
Okay, good, good.
And we know that some of these test pits will be extremely shallow.
right.
But that's understandable, given the condition, given the nature of the site. But we want to know what's down there, and
Yeah.
even if they are shallow, we just want some
I
assurances
think,
that.
does the note say down to the parent material? 'Cause I know that's what was written in the comment.
It does not. Verbatim, it says a series of test pits of 12 shall be dug to a depth of 2 parent material.
Okay.
Laboratory soils analysis shall be performed for material within filled areas.
So can we assume that that parent material is pretty much consistent across the site, since it was ledge? Is that safe to say, or?
Yeah, I think you'll
and-
hit the
and
ledge.
I would think that they quit once it got too wet to deal with, but it was still rock, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
okay.
Okay.
So we had a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you all
much.
very much.
Next up is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-789, owner applicant Highland Farms Development 2 LLC, project locations 175 Philstone Lane, assessors maps U-04-0056, filed by Civil and Environmental Consultant Inc. on behalf of applicant is requesting a certificate of compliance. Applicant states that exception of the lawn development on this lot, the work authorized under the orders has been completed, substantial compliance with the order condition. There's also a minor wetland encroachment located in the southeast corner of the subject property. This was tabled from April 3rd, 2023.
I would recommend the issuance of a certificate of compliance. They have made some field modifications, updated the as-built plan. All the wetland signage is in the correct location at the right distances away from the wetland. The lot has recently been loamed and seeded. All the site work is complete, so no issue with issuing a certificate of compliance.
Okay. Can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance?
We don't have a split rail fence on this
Motion.
property.
Yeah.
We do?
There's a portion of it over here.
Okay, I got it.
Only that section where they were really pushed up against it and get into it. So what they did was actually something like this. No fill, but it'll go back.
Okay.
Aye?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Next is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-786, owner applicants Highland Farms Development 2 LLC, project location 133 Philstone Lane, assessor's map is U-04-0054, filed by Civil and Environmental Consultant Inc. on behalf of applicant. Applicant is requesting a certificate of compliance with the exception of the final lawn development on this lot. The work authorized under the order condition has been completed substantially compliance with the order conditions. This was tabled from April 3rd, 2023.
As of today, all the work was completed. I recommend the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
Yeah, it looks good. Can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance?
Motion.
Seconded.
Okay, roll call vote?
Aye. Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes,
Okay. Glad to see some of that Highland Farm stuff
I was
getting
thinking the
on.
same thing.
There's more coming at the end.
All righty. Next is a ANRAD SE-24-816. Owner applicant is BBC Realty Holding LLC. Project location is 0 Innovation Way. Assessor's map is W-190187, filed by Zenith Consulting Engineer LLC on behalf of BBC Realty Holding LLC to review and approve the submitted wetland delineation. This was tabled from April 3rd, 2023.
Commission members, we had requested some additional soil testing and some sample plots through the rear wetland area. The wetlands consultant provided us with that information. Zenith has provided us with the revised plan. I think the additional information is more than adequate, and we're okay to issue the approval for the BVW as proposed. No other wetland resource areas were delineated or shown. I don't think any other appear, but you're only approving the wetlands line that was presented.
Okay. Any questions?
None.
Okay.
No question.
So could I have a motion to issue an order of conditions on area delineation for the bordering vegetated wetland?
Motion to approve NRAD?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That was nice and easy. Next is a notice of intent SE-24-817. Owner applicant is Mellow Estates LLC. Project location 1262 Brighton Ave. Assessor's map is J-24-0002, filed by Zenith Consulting Engineer LLC. On behalf of applicant, the applicant proposes removal of existing rock outcrop to establish a contractor's yard, material storage facility. Also, restoration is proposed within a previous disturbed riverfront area and buffer zone, as well as cleaning of the existing drainage swale in Brighton Ave, subject to MassDOT approval. This was tabled from April 3rd, 2023. I know we didn't get this in till late, so.
Yeah, it came in late, actually after close of business on Friday, but I was able to give a pretty good look at it today. Because so much has changed on the plans, I think it's probably more beneficial that the applicant give you a small presentation on it at least, and then we can go through my comments and whatever you may want to add.
Good evening, Jamie Bissonette, Zenith Consulting Engineers. I'll just do a quick outline on what we've changed. As requested at the previous meeting on the existing conditions, we've added the drain line from the existing catch basin to the street into the Mass DOT area. The owners of the property had to snake the line because the outlet is actually buried. So they were able to snake it and track it and marked it out, and we had the survey crew go out and locate it. We also had the survey crew locate the trees and stumps on the site that were within 100 foot of the resource areas. Those have been shown on the plan. We've added in the approximate tree line from the aerial photo that the agent had provided us with, and also adjusted the site conditions to show the area of gravel from that aerial photo as well. On the layout plan, there have been several changes. Meeting with the applicant and discussing what they're looking to do as per the last meeting. There's been an addition of a roughly 5,100 square foot building on site. We're showing parking for 15 tractor trailer trucks and 15 triaxle trucks. There's also a building for salt storage and parking and storage for on-site machines. All those items I just talked about are outside of the buffer zone to the BVW or riverfront area. Works that are within the buffer zone are the parking lot, the travel access, striped parking, the material storage bin. We're proposing 16 of them at 15 by 15 and 3 at 30 by 30. We also have 2 new drainage infiltration basins shown, 1 subsurface system, and the water quality swale that was on our previous submittal. As far as the drainage is concerned, now with the addition of pavement and the change to the plan, we've added in first defense treatment units, which are BMPs that will, two of them will happen in the catch basin, the one other will happen within a drainage manhole. And I need to speak with Dan about setting up test pits to dig for the infiltration structures. We need to confirm soils and water table to move forward on the plan set. As far as the mitigation plan is concerned, we took a look at all of the vegetation that was cut. Again, some of it appeared to be dead, some of it, a couple of trees may have been alive. So what we did was we proposed to replace 15 trees, which is the max that we could count stump-wise within that 25-foot area. We're also still keeping the proposal for the Northeast Solar Pollinator Mix by Ernest Seeds to, after we clean up the debris, the garbage and trash that's in there, and put nice clean soil in that area. Our erosion control plan still has the temporary sediment basin with a swale to be used during the removal of rock, that period. And then I know at the last meeting, there was discussion about how do we move forward on this, and that, other boards needed to see this. So what we've done is we actually have a council that is helping us prepare those applications to make sure that we do the proper path. So we will be filing, I believe, for site plan approval and moving forward on that aspect as well. We've had those meetings and they're preparing the applications. So I'm happy to address any questions or comments.
You guys have any questions, or you want me to go through my stuff first?
Well, I just had one, I know the parking lot is out of the 100 buffer zone, but where is that gonna be draining into?
So it depends on which part. So this section over in here, there's an existing catch basin. But what we're looking to do is replace it with 2 new catch basins that go into a drainage manhole and an underground infiltration area. Again, we have to confirm with soils that we can put this in. What we're doing is, right now, there's an existing line from a drain catch basin that comes out into Mass DOT here. What we're looking at doing is infiltrating additional and reducing the actual amount that comes out, but having an overflow into the state layout. As far as in the back, we have a set of catch basins here, or a double graded catch basin, I'm sorry, and also a double graded catch basin here. These are both also treatment units, and that'll pick up this portion of the asphalt, and this portion will come over into this unit.
Okay.
That will come down into the water quality swale. This one will come into the infiltration basin, and then this here will be split between this infiltration basin, and this will be split into this infiltration basin.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just looking, so on page 3 of the plan book you gave us, I see the paved vehicle parking area.
Yes.
But you also saw a number of vehicle parking area within the storage bins, according to what I'm looking at.
Yes.
So it would be
Yeah.
parking vehicles inside the storage bins.
So
Well, no, these are the bins.
Yep.
But within the area that accesses the bins,
Right.
yes, they are showing other vehicles.
And what's the, that's not paved, so what material will that be?
these are gonna, in the bins or in,
No, underneath the vehicles.
so this we actually have as proposed processed gravel.
Okay.
And
I
these
see.
would be the machines that operate on the yard during the day. We're showing a maximum amount, but they,
Okay.
we expect that there'll be less machines there
Okay.
on a regular basis.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so how many vehicles and parking spaces do you expect to have at this site?
For machinery or for employee parking?
Well, I guess for both.
Right, so employee parking, right now, we're showing 18 spaces up here.
Okay.
We have 1 proposed handicap space close to the building for ADA. And then over in here, we're proposing 6 spaces on the side of the building. As far as for tractor trailer trucks, we propose 15 with 15 tri-axles in front. And then, like I said, these are gonna be for on-site machinery, front-end loaders, backhoes, whatever's needed for day-to-day operations. Plus, they do have some equipment for earth removal on sites.
Okay. Anyone else?
Actually, I have one more question.
Sure.
The proposed 15 by 15 storage areas,
Mhm.
what material is gonna be at those storage areas? What do you
Certainly.
plan on having there?
So, Joe, do you want to speak specifically, or?
Just landscaping, sand, mulch, so it's the crushed stone, like contractors would normally have.
Okay. And then the final question is the proposed salt storage. I'm kind of concerned about that. How are you gonna access the salt? Are the trucks gonna come into the storage area and get loaded inside the building? Or is it gonna be outside the building? Because
Outside the building,
they're gonna be loaded outside the building?
correct.
Well, I have a concern with that because, you know, the resource area is right there. I mean, I think that's something that we should take a look at. I don't know if this commission's gonna agree or not, but to have the trucks be loaded inside the building.
Is that salt storage area gonna be covered?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a building.
Yeah, it's within a building, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I literally just saw, we all
Sure.
just saw this today, so there may be additional questions as I go through we go through the stormwater management report. I haven't even had a chance none of us have had a chance to look at it, really.
Understood.
Significant improvements, right, over the last time, but we still need to, take some time and go through this carefully and,
Sure. No, we understand.
you know.
Dan?
First, I want to thank the applicant for providing a more comprehensive plan. I mean, it is a drastic improvement and illustrates what the actual intended uses of the property. When I gave it a quick review, I do have a few things to offer you and stuff that I had let you know of my concerns even previously.
Yep.
I just gave you a quick, I literally just emailed this to the members an hour ago, so you have a copy of it in front of you. So comments that I had added were, all materials stored within the licensed area shall be removed immediately. The conditions of the licensed area shall be adhered to completely. I know that the applicant, the owner has been made aware of this and hasn't done anything about the materials being stored in that area. So immediately that material, all those materials need to be removed
Okay,
and put somewhere. Can't put them on this site, but you can go find somewhere else to put them.
Okay.
They don't belong in there. Then the next issue will be a letter from the law department really spelling out, we're trying to play nice with this, but will be potentially to revoke the license, which there is the ability to if an applicant doesn't comply.
okay.
So I'm asking you to comply with that so that we don't get to that next stage. So please let your client know that.
I will, thank you.
On revised plan set, we'd like to see the edge of the water and the water elevation,
Sure.
so that I think the commission will get a better idea of, we're looking at bank.
Yeah,
They might get a better feel about it, how far is the water away from that bank?
understood, yeah, that makes
So
sense.
I think that may help in both conditions.
Okay,
As you had stated, the drainage analysis is predicated upon substantial infiltration on the site. No soil or groundwater elevation information has been provided. So as Jamie stated, soil evaluations and percolation testing needs to be completed and witnessed by the city of Fall River. I didn't even open up the stormwater management report because it means nothing until we get that information. And I understand it's, at least we get some plans in, but we're a long ways away from getting to an okay on that. Another note should be added to the cover sheet with regards to no work shall begin without site plan approval. Jamie also addressed that. If you can add along Brayton Avenue where the limits of the no access portion of the state highway are
we can.
and where the jurisdictional limits end. I know it's kind of funky how it gets through here and not very clear when you look at the different layouts.
It's definitely not clear where
No.
MassDOT ends, but we've been in touch with MassDOT.
You have, okay.
Yeah, so we'll try to get their opinion on it.
Okay, because as you know, the next question would be, do you need a new street opening, state highway access permit for that?
Sure.
I mean, this is clearly a change in use, so those driveways may need some additional permitting, radiuses.
Yep.
You know the gamut, and additional drainage improvements might be required. The existing billboard still remains, right? That's still there?
It is.
I know you referenced it just as the pad for the billboard, but if you could reference the billboard itself.
Sure.
And then I thought there was an actual easement document that illustrates the access that the owner of that billboard has through the site.
I
Can
can
we make
check
sure
into
that that's not impeded?
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure it's there. If you can dimension the existing and proposed curb openings, if they're the same, fine, but just dimension them.
Okay,
Add appropriate notation that clearly defines the conditions of the license grant with prohibitions and the allowed uses.
okay,
Illustrate the location of the current unpermitted cleared area and ground cover types. I do see you note where the trees were removed and where the limits of the gravel are, and where the previous tree line was, or where the existing edge of the current tree line is. Again, so the commission can get an understanding of, although you referenced the trees that fall within that very close proximity, the actual shrub cleared area is not shown on the plan.
Okay,
If you can add square footage of the existing building, so when we're looking at parking calculations and infiltration,
sure.
we can take a look at that. Illustrate all existing and proposed floor drains and where they discharge to. I don't know if the existing garage has a floor drain. If it doesn't, it probably should and may be required moving forward.
All right,
And then also within the new building in the rear as well.
yep,
Whether, I don't know whether you can get it to sewer, or if there'll have to be an industrial wastewater holding tank or something like that, so if you can address that.
okay,
Proposed construction activity within the licensed area cannot impede access to others that maintain access rights. So the installation of curb, some proposed grading will limit the access that the northerly abutter has. So take a look at that and try to be sure that you're not creating an impediment to him.
absolutely.
That allows that to go through.
Yep,
Provide documentation that allows for the construction of drainage structures within the licensed area. I don't know if the applicant has the right to install new drainage in there.
yeah, we're gonna have council look into
Right,
that.
I did speak
Yeah.
to, I forget what the attorney's name was, but a week or two ago.
Yep,
So check that out.
we will.
And if additional licensing needs to be done, I'm not saying that the city would be opposed to it, but we do want to make sure that gets straightened out.
Yep,
Next one was with regards to MassDOT jurisdiction along Brayton Avenue.
mhm,
When you provide the parking summary, actually spell out the calculation based upon building square footage.
sure.
I don't think the salt shed building requires any calculation, but the other two buildings 100% would.
Yep.
Are there any utility connections going to the proposed building? Any sewer, water?
You know, that really
Electric?
hasn't been, electric definitely will.
Yeah.
Water and sewer, we haven't discussed.
Okay.
So I will find out and,
You may want to get that on here too.
yep,
I know which way you're not going to get there.
yes, yes,
But-
that's true.
Something that I did not add on here, and just because we've just dealt with this with the last project that we just dealt with on Bell Rock Road, do you have a proposed limit elevation-wise for the removal of the ledge? Because they ended up going about 26 feet into groundwater,
Oh, wow,
yeah.
yeah.
So the grading that was shown on the plan was not adhered to.
We can
So
add- we'll
a
add that
finished
to the
grade
plan.
doesn't say, well, what does it say the ledge will be removed to, so.
Yeah.
I would assume it wouldn't be below the existing adjacent grade, or at least a healthy distance above groundwater once it's determined.
Yeah, yeah. Our thought is that where we're gonna have asphalt, we're gonna need to be able to remove it enough to be able to
Right,
build
to
a
bring enough
solid
gravel
base
in, sure.
for the
Yeah,
pavement.
base.
Or
Exactly,
provide room to install the drainage structures.
exactly.
And that's all fine.
Yep,
Commissioners? That was basically it as far as comments go. What I do want to offer to the commission should discuss the proposed intended use and what distance from the resource area they deem adequate for meeting the performance standards. So they have a limit of work area shown as 25 feet, which is the limit of the riverfront area. You also have a 25-foot no-touch zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. But because of the use and the unstable characteristics of the storage area, you should really consider whether or not you feel 25 feet is adequate. If you feel 25 feet could potentially be adequate with additional controls, whether through additional vegetation or, I do see that the drainage swale does make an attempt to capture anything that's running off of this site, but what that will do is contaminate the infiltration basin. So it's difficult to capture what's gonna run off a gravel parking lot. And then when you're now directing it to infiltration best management practices, not gonna last long. So you may wanna give some consideration to that. Commission should discuss the types of material allowed to be stored on site and how they are to be handled. For example, the loading and unloading of vehicles with salt should only take place within the proposed building, so very similar to what Paulo had thought. Commission should discuss the specific buffer zone restoration requirements. In addition to what's being proposed, shrub plantings at 7-foot intervals throughout the area is recommended. And as always, the agent reserves the right to further comment upon the receipt of revised plans. So I would offer that we have made a big leap but I do think that the applicant should be provided with some type of direction of whether or not you feel they're close with 25 feet, so that way he can potentially create a complete set of site drawings for approval.
Well, I can't-
Other than that specific aspect of it, really just wait upon revised plans, but it would be unfair to send them with a checklist and then have you come back in a month and say,
Right.
well, 25's not good enough.
How many drains are located by the bins?
We actually were utilizing swales, and let me explain why and what we're doing. So on the back side of the bins, we're actually proposing, this is gonna be grass in between and on the back side the whole way around. So we're looking to pick that flow up via the swale here and the swale here to get them into the infiltration basin. I agree with Mr. Aguirre that the thought process is that the infiltration basins will tend to get dirty quicker. The nice part is that this is a construction yard where they have equipment to readily clean the basins if need be. I think that we would be open to a more rigorous maintenance schedule for those infiltration basins. But again, we have to dig some test pits in the area of the basins to make sure that they're sized appropriately and the depths of them are proper as well.
Do you have the ability, Jamie, I know along the grass swale along Brayton Avenue where you threw in the check dam with the V-notch, is there any way in those other two swales that prior to hitting the infiltration basin, you can maybe
We
try
could,
something like that?
yep, we can.
Or even if like, it looks like behind the series of three along the north.
Yep.
You might even be able to put in a sediment sump or something, prior to getting in. I don't think you've got room on the other end, but maybe if you go rid of one bin at that elbow, maybe provide an area where some settling can take place.
Yeah, we might even be able to put in a 4-bay type of unit if
Exactly.
need be, yeah,
Yep.
yep. I don't think that's an issue at all.
But what happens is, and you may or may not know, when you're dealing with a paved situation or a gravel situation, the stormwater regs are a little bit backwards. The amount of treatment you need to provide off a paved surface is greater than what you would need to provide off a gravel surface. Kind of doesn't make sense, right? When you're dealing with what's gonna wash off a gravel parking lot.
Yeah.
So we try and do as much as we can to make sure anything heading into an infiltration basin is as clean as you possibly can get it. But once we get the soil conditions, groundwater depths, this may all change. This could be drastically different when we find out if we've got a water table at 2 feet, for instance, which may not be unheard of out here, but it may not be. But until you dig a hole in the ground, you don't know.
And so what they propose so far will protect runoff into the Quequechan.
No, I won't say that. No. No.
Well, I mean, you
I think
got a
once they
parking lot,
potentially make
yeah.
some adjustments, my biggest concern is the gravel parking area and what's gonna be stored on there and what's gonna be coming off of machines.
Mhm.
These are excavators, they're backhoes, they drip hydraulic fluid constantly coming off of them. So those types of equipment, that close to a resource area like that is significant and concerning, so.
Would you need more shrubs or,
So if there's
In that
something that,
area,
if there's
it's
something
sort-
that can take up, yeah,
it depends on how steep the bank is, whatever's running off there, right?
well,
pretty- it's
there's,
pretty
there's not a lot of water that's
consistent
gonna
grade.
get running over the bank because of the swale system that's proposed.
Yeah.
But whatever that swale system collects is gonna make it into the detention ponds, which are infiltration basins as well.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the line, a level of contamination greater than if you were parking cars, could happen.
So Jamie, because I'm not really with the nature of the business, and a couple of quick questions. The existing building, what was that used for prior? Do we know?
Well, I think auto repair.
It was a trailer repair shop that we had to use, but he passed away, I think, 8 years ago.
Right.
And it's been rented out to, it was a tow company before I got there.
So are there, do you know if there are floor drains in there?
There is no floor.
No, there are no floor drains, okay. So let's say for the sake of argument, and you may not have the answer to this, but we're not comfortable with 25 feet, what if we said 50 feet? What's the impact? Because again, I mean, we got a businessman, we don't wanna discourage business, we wanna do things safely, right? So what would the impact be? Is it doable with the existing plans as they exist?
It's pretty catastrophic for the site. We did look at that because we did get Dan's comments after the last meeting, and we discussed it. You can see how we are utilizing the majority of the site here. If anything, they actually could use additional room, but we understand that the constraints that we have. We think that we'll be able to find with the commission a way to make the 25 feet secure enough. And if we've got to beef up the stormwater, then that's what we'll do. We'll work with Dan to get that done to a point where the commission's comfortable, if possible.
So, I mean, I don't speak for the rest of the commission, I just need to look at this in
Sure.
a lot more detail.
Understood.
And spend some time and maybe go out to the site and, so I can look at what it looks like.
Sure. Yeah, I have a couple of ideas for possible treatment. I'll run by with Dan, but they have like low profile, I think they call them pretext units. They're catch facing grate you can put in line, and it has a sump in it. So we'll figure out something to help minimize the burden that the infiltration will receive.
These trucks rolling in and out of there all the time, are they stored there, is it?
They're gonna be stored there. So they'll leave 6 o'clock in the morning, they'll come back 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. And those trucks are directly related to your business operations?
Correct.
Okay.
If you don't have any more questions, please ask the audience if anybody has.
Anyone have any questions in the audience?
I have one question. The storage bins, are they, they'll have a concrete bottom or just a gravel bottom?
We were just planning on a gravel bottom, but if it has to be concrete or asphalt, we'll make it whatever it needs to be.
Jamie, I also see, there is no gate proposed along the main entrance. I know I had spoken to Joe a while ago about the installation of a gate and said we were okay with that, but I just don't
Yep.
see it on the plan, so.
Yeah, that will be added. That was after my survey crew was
Yeah,
out,
no
so.
problem. Other than that, I think that's enough to chew on for the time being, but give me a call tomorrow and we can schedule those test pits. I know you've got to get that done as quickly as possible.
I do, appreciate that.
You have any other questions for us? Or?
Did we make a decision on the buffer?
No, not until, I mean, I
think
can't.
we
until-
need to, 25 is close, but if you can show us drainage, but might solve the problem, we could take a look at that, but
I think what might be
I think we're-
important is if you dimension
Yeah.
taking drainage out of it. So dimension the setback from the bins
Okay,
or the actual working area of the yard.
yep,
And that may give the commission a better understanding of, hey, what's happening outside of this 25-foot restored area. There's a 20-foot, 25-foot swale,
yep,
and then another 10 feet away from that of the storage bin. So
that makes
it
sense.
makes people, you can digest it a little bit easier and get so provide offset distances to those structures and
Okay.
may provide some help.
And concrete bases to the storage bins would, at the very least, force any water running out of the storage bins to run in the opposite direction of the river and the buffers.
Yep.
So that would,
Pitch?
yeah, so we could pitch them and have it run into, any runoff would run into the gravel lot and not back the other way, so we each put them in a.
Understood.
The pitch on that degree.
And only, again, just looking at it, there will be no fuel storage on this site. You're not proposing any diesel tanks for fueling vehicles, or
Yes, we do have storage tanks too.
where are those? Where are those proposed to be? They're not on the plan.
We don't know exactly where they're gonna be.
We need to know.
That-
That's
that's a big- that
important.
makes a big
Storage of any
difference.
kind of materials.
That's a big difference, and we need to know how much is gonna be stored, size of type of tank, things like that.
All right, I'll find out, and
Okay.
we'll add that.
Doors, on the existing building, I don't think the parking layout addresses the bay doors that are on the easterly side of the building.
Yeah,
Right.
correct.
So you might wanna show what overhead doors are gonna be where.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
no further questions. Can I have a motion to table the June 5th?
Motion to table.
Second.
Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Give me a
Have
call
good night.
tomorrow, Jim.
All right, I will. Thanks, Dan. Thank you.
Next is a notice of intent, SE-24-819, owner applicant is
Try it again. Go ahead.
Tibrio
Tiberio Jacinto.
There you
Jacinto.
go. The Portuguese kid got it right on the
Yeah.
side.
Project location is 245 Fieldstone Lane, assessors map is U-04-0059, filed by Northeast Engineer and Consultant on behalf of applicant. Applicant proposes to install an in-ground pool and surrounding apron patio. A portion of the proposed work is located within the 100-foot buffer zone, a bordering vegetated wetland. This was tabled from April 3rd, 23.
Good evening. For the record, Jeff Tolman from Northeast Engineers and Consultants, here representing Tiberio Jacinto, the applicant on this notice of intent. Since the last time we met, we made some revisions to the plan. One of the big concerns at the last meeting was the proximity to the proposed retaining wall, from the proposed retaining wall to the wetland. Since the existing deck, we had discussed this at the last meeting, was only 8 feet off of the line. It was kind of agreed upon to hold that as our distance for any proposed improvements. So we've revised the plan to show the retaining wall to be 8 feet, a minimum of 8 feet off of the wetland line, and the pool has shifted a little bit to the west as a result of that. Still fits on the property. Actually, no, the pool has been downsized slightly. I want to say the previous version might have been 38 feet wide, where this one's 32. So we did downsize the pool as well, and as a result, the apron around it.
And the apron is reduced as well? Is that-
Yes,
is that
yeah,
correct?
slight reduction in the
And
overall.
those are infiltration pavers?
Excuse me?
The pavers?
Yes.
They're
Yeah,
infiltration
Yes.
pavers?
Yes.
Helps if you read it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You guys have any questions, or you want my spiel?
No, you can give your spiel. I was gonna wonder where all the filters we're gonna put, but I guess it's gonna be when your spiel, so.
Okay. So I recommend the issuance of an order of conditions with some special conditions, that a post and rail fence with our standard resource area signage along the limit of work within 10 feet of the BVW. So anywhere where the proposed erosion control barrier falls within 10 feet of the BVW, at construction completion, that should be replaced with a post and rail fence and our normal signage. A note shall be added stating that all the pool equipment, pump, filter, et cetera, shall be installed no closer than 25 feet to the BVW. All filtered backwash shall be directed to an underground infiltration stone pit. Said pit shall be no closer than 25 feet to the BVW. Proposed retaining wall location shall be revised to accurately depict wall material. It does say stone wall on the plan at my site visit today. They've already got Ready Rock, the large concrete blocks already stockpiled on the site. So we can just make that change. And then label the proposed relocated infiltration chambers. There is a note saying that the existing are to be removed because they do fall in the location of it. And I'm assuming that the other two shown, one behind the existing deck and one to the side of the building, are the locations of the relocated systems.
That is correct.
So other than that, with the issuance of a revised plan with these conditions, I don't see an issue with it.
The only question I have is, do we have dimensions on the dry well for the filter backwash? Without specifics, they could
That
scrape.
would normally, I
scrape a
think
hole.
we've always thrown like a 5x5x5 crushed stone pit
Okay,
is usually adequate.
that's fine. Without that there, without us knowing that, it could be scrape a hole in the ground and throw some stone in there, so.
Yeah, and I'll add that to the plan. That'll be the west side of the property, like the southwest corner of where the improvements are proposed in that location. And the relocated infiltration systems are shown on the plan, they're just not labeled, so I will label them on the revised plan. The only question I did have on those, Dan's comments, was the post and rail fence, anywhere within 10 feet. The existing deck, again, is only 8 feet off of the line. I wouldn't want to block off access to get to the rear yard,
Right, so start off at that angle point.
right at that
On
angle
that
point,
side.
and bring it around to
Yep.
the property line on the other side, is that
Yep,
fair?
that's fine.
Okay.
There wasn't a dimension to the existing deck, so I couldn't tell you how close it was.
No comment.
Any other questions?
Anybody in the audience? Audience, have any comments?
Any comments from the audience? Alrighty. So can I have a motion to have order conditions with the special conditions that we have underneath put in?
Motion so made.
Second?
Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Next is a request for amended order of conditions for SE 24-782. Owner applicant is MassDOT Highway Division, project location Route 79 Duval Street. Assessors map is NA roadway layout filed by MassDOT requesting amendment order of conditions. MassDOT is submitting these requests to incorporate design changes that are necessary to resolve conflicts with the utilities, reduce impacts to resource associated with the Taunton River, and make refinements to the permitted design prior to construction.
While they're setting up, I'll give you my comments. So everyone in this room and through this entire project has kept the city abreast of every situation as we've been going on. We meet every Tuesday. So, you know, we were aware that some of these, and we're involved in some of these project changes. They're all very, very minor and in some cases actually improve the impacts on the resource areas. So I would offer that the amended order be issued, really with no other special conditions other than what's in place. But since we have so many people here today, it'll be educational, I think, for everyone here in the audience to get whatever knowledge they can about the project as a whole.
Well, that would have been good to know last Tuesday. I'm Jonathan Kappas. I'm the design manager for the project. With me here is Laura Kraus, who represents MassDOT from Beta. We can run through this if you want.
I think if you can show them where the changes are. You don't have to go through the whole project, but just, like with your cover letter, just show them where the
So again, as
specific
a reminder,
changes.
you guys all know the project. I'm sure you drive through it.
We already had somebody here
Enough.
complaining about it before you guys got here today, an audience member. The
we're
owner of the
talking-
project on Duval Street, which we'll talk about that tomorrow. On the
Is that a spoiler alert
auto
for
repair
tomorrow?
place, the one with the curb
Yeah.
cut stuff, yeah.
So what we're talking about here are the two outfalls. One's at Remington Ave at the end of Brunel. The other one is at the corner of City Pier and Duval southbound. And what we're looking at here is both in close-up. So we have the City Pier location over here and the Remington Ave outfall location over here. You can see the original limits of the easements that were taken to provide space for both outfalls. The riprap extended all the way to the end of those easements. What we have as a result of our continued design efforts was a reduction in those impact areas. You can see from this location right here and this location right here, it is considerably reduced. I have Chris Naylor here with me who can talk to you more about those details if you'd like. He's our lead civil designer.
No questions on that.
You guys have any
Board have any questions?
No, I don't know.
Anybody from the audience have a question?
Anyone from the audience?
We're all so
So do you have any questions?
Alrighty.
I didn't look at the final submission until today, so I apologize, but.
I just want to note that we had some planned subject to coastal stone flow, which increases for the bridge and the culvert. They're listed, and at the bridge, it's to kind of connect an area, a small area that wasn't connected or that had to be updated, and that was maybe.
Yeah, there were two locations that had minor land subject to coastal storm flowage and minor filling in those two locations.
Mike, those plans are under here if you want.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we are reducing impacts there, and then with the culvert under the bridge, we had an increase in in land subject to coastal storm flowage impacts because we had to raise the culvert a little bit for you to get utilities through, so.
Yep, so what happened was right in this location right here, there was a utility conflict with the culvert. In order to get everything to fit, the culvert had to be a little bit higher, thus the land above the culvert had to be a little bit higher. And that's
This
where
is
we
a
got that.
hornet's
Yep.
nest in the ground. Everybody's so excited to see how quickly dirt moves. You're about to see the heels get dug in when they start digging holes and dealing with what's in the ground, so.
Well, a lot of the new work is electrical stuff being put in, right?
Everything.
Yes, electrical, telephone,
Now,
couple,
will you-
lots of water line.
I see you, most of it's down. Is 79, what's there now, is that gonna be graded lower, or does that stay the same?
I don't know, how close are you guys to the finished grade at this point?
We've got an area close to President's that's getting close to grade. We left some soil at the southern end of the job, near the southern U-turn, and we're still cutting. Most of that soil goes north, up where we filled in underneath the viaduct now, and even further north once we take that viaduct down. So there's a big cut fill, move from south to north. The elevation on the north side of the site comes up, and then we come down to relatively Duval Street grade through the parcels. So,
Okay, thanks.
yep.
Board have any questions? Okay. Can I have a motion to issue a amendment order of conditions?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Alright.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right. Next is a request for certificate of compliance, SE-24-788. Owner applicant is Highland Farms Development 2 LLC. Project location is 164 Fieldstone Lane. Assessors map is U-04-0069. Filed by Civil Environmental Consultant, Inc. on behalf of applicant. Applicant is requesting a certificate of compliance with the exception of final lawn development on the lot, this lot. The work authorized under this order condition has been completed in substantial compliance within the order conditions.
So as did the chairman, I went and looked at the site today. Approximately half of the lot's been loamed and seeded. When I walked around from the other side of the house, the loaming and seeding work was not completed. And then on top of that, there were stockpiled pallets of pavers to put down a new patio. So what I would recommend is that this matter be tabled. Now, luckily, the patio was not installed yet. And this is when, so like a lot of the past issues, if a property owner had come in before they had done something, we should give them the opportunity to file an amended order of conditions. The work being proposed falls within the previous limit of work, however, it's not shown on the plan. So if they would have gone in and put the patio in, I would have recommended they file a new notice of intent for the new work. But we're gonna try and get in touch with the owners tomorrow and have them request an amendment before they put the pavers down. But in any event, for what you're looking at tonight, the certificate of compliance should be tabled, just on the basis that loam
Yeah.
and seeding hasn't been completed.
Okay.
But it's caught early enough where no enforcement issues, we don't have any enforcement issues, and we can hopefully get them to address it sooner than later.
I did address the 133 location. I said, if your neighbors are doing anything, make sure they contact us.
Yeah,
before.
and they're slowly learning,
You know.
like Jeff's applicant tonight with the pool.
Yeah.
They learned quickly that pool on the side of me with his outdoor pizza oven and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
did not.
Yeah. I said, we're not bad guys, but it's best to come to us before
Yep,
you start to work.
exactly.
So can I,
This all be conveyed to these people before?
Well, it should be, but we're,
I mean, not just us, I mean,
No.
whether it was the other, planning,
So-
buildings,
well,
anybody
you
in
can
the
only
city.
do that when they come and ask a question. So, when they sell a piece of land,
Yeah.
and they know that there is an order of conditions, and that the certificate of compliance has not been issued, that there was a wetland permit, we can't force the realtor or the builder to convey all that information.
Yeah.
One thing we can do is that part of, because a lot of these, they haven't closed yet, and that's why we're able to force people's hands, because they
Yeah.
haven't gone past that yet. And so we've held up a lot of closings, and it's not good, you know, on their end to hold up these things. But one thing you could have done is, when we issue the order of conditions in the first place, it can be that an affidavit gets filed and recorded at the registry prior to the deed being recorded, that the buyer is aware of what they're buying. Up until that point, until that closing point, we've got, you know, people wanting to move in. They can't because they don't have a certificate of compliance. They've got a patio lined up to do the work. So we're dealing with Bristol Pacific, who is the developer and who's applied for this. We've now got the potential homeowner. This isn't Bristol Pacific coming in and doing these patios, these pools and everything else. What they should do is, Bristol Pacific should say, you do nothing until we've got our certificate of compliance. Then you should either apply for your permit or just go do whatever you want, but at least at this point, Bristol Pacific is out of it. So I do appreciate Bristol Pacific's effort on a lot of things, but there's a bunch of stuff happening before people even own the piece of land, like this type of stuff. The house on 30 Brookfield Terrace, which was the first pool, the semi-above-ground pool, they're now on a new engineer putting together their notice of intent. So everybody's still, the same thing with the home that had the larger wetland alteration, the first one.
5,000 square.
Yeah. So they're all been scrambling to get engineering consultants.
Yeah.
You know, you see before you, a bunch of new faces that you didn't see before.
Yeah.
So people are trying to find, like, we give lists of, okay, you call these 10 companies. And they're slowly finding their way to who responds, who doesn't respond. So you'll be routinely seeing the same people back because they're the ones that have responded.
Yeah, because this lot has a very small backyard, so.
Which one?
164,
Yes, yeah, well, very small on that one corner, very,
Yeah.
very tight, yeah.
so. Alrighty. So
Okay.
can I have a motion to table?
Nope,
to
yeah,
June
table
5th?
that one, yep.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have receipt of correspondence, review and discussion of notice of Chapter 91 license, application for Ryerson Cables and System LLC.
So you may remember, we gave the okay for that beacon light to be installed. So they are now going through their Chapter 91 license application for the construction of that, as well as, the stuff over in Somerset. So they send us a copy. Planning actually has to sign off on it. Building department has to sign off on it. You don't. So this is just correspondence that I would recommend that you accept and place on file. If you want to read through what they've given you as a hobby, feel free to do it.
Okay. But can I have a motion to place on file?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Next is receipt of correspondence to review and discuss of environmental review records.
So this is something that gets sent to us by the Community Development Agency with regards to their housing and community development stuff. Something that I don't think you have a concern about. It's just different programs, methods, and annual reviews that go through our planning process, and everybody gets one. So,
Yeah.
again, recommend that you just place on file.
Motion place on file?
So moved.
Second.
Roll?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion approval for the minutes of April 3rd, 2023?
Motion to approve minutes?
Second.
Roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Alrighty. No citizen input. Can I have motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
So-